Hi, this is Rhonda Sadman, and I'm here to tell you why parents should monitor their teenagers' smartphone use. This paper will go over some of the negative effects that psychologists and public officials have been studying over the past decade. Smartphone use among teens has led to a serious negative sociological impact affecting the social skills needed to succeed in adult life. In addition to this, many medical issues have been studied due to the increased use of these devices by teenagers. The most critical aspect of the teen smartphone epidemic would be the psychological issues that have arisen due to the adolescents' usage. Parents need to heed these warnings and be wary of the social, medical, and psychological conditions that can arise from smartphone use and monitor their children with this new technology. Since the explosion of the smartphone, society has experienced a new threshold of knowledge available, platforms for socializing, and an overall connection to long-lost family and friends. But this technology has a dark side as well. The overall negative effects of smartphones within the teenage bracket are rising and becoming a concern to some parents and public officials. Rebecca Ann Sedgwick is an unfortunate perfect example of smartphone use that caused a myriad of issues for this young lady. Rebecca suffered from bullying at school and on social media. School officials did what they could, but eventually her parents pulled her out of school and got rid of the Facebook page. She even changed her phone number, but the bullying continued. She was even hospitalized for self-mutilation at one point. On September 9th, 2013, Rebecca hid her school books under a pile of clothes, sent out 2 texts to her friends saying goodbye, and she climbed to the top of a platform at a cement plant and jumped to her death. Rebecca has joined the other youths that have committed suicide due to cyberbullying on social media. Teen suicide is just one of the many reasons that the correlation between teenagers and the negative effects of smartphone use are currently being studied. Due to the sociological, medical, and psychological issues arising from smartphone use, parents should be monitoring their teenagers and the use of these devices. The first sociological reason that parents should monitor their children's cell phone use is reported by the Department of Human Services in 2018, that along with the increase of technology, young people are taking more time to move between childhood and adulthood. Jean Twenge's 2017 article, Has a Smartphone Destroyed a Generation, tells us, the allure of independence holds less sway over today's teens. Dating has been affected by today's smartphone use. Twenge reports about 56% of the high school seniors went out on dates in 2015. This is a drastic decrease from the 85% that dated in previous generations. 1 in 4 teens still do not obtain their license before the end of high school. They don't seek money because it's not a necessity for them. Twenge also tells us that the number of teens who get together with their friends nearly every day dropped by more than 40% from 2000 to 2015. The roller rink, the basketball court, even the local necking spot have been replaced by virtual apps on a smartphone and the web. Twenge tells us that adolescence is a key time for developing social skills, and as teens spend less face-to-face, they have fewer opportunities to practice them. In the next decade, we may see more adults who know just the right emoji for a situation, but not the right facial expression. One additional issue causing teens' social skills to be depleted has been reported by George Will in Newsweek article called Lost in Electronica. He reports that Adam Cox states that smartphones reduce teens' thresholds for boredom, addicting them to the constant electric stimuli, leading them to have a lack of social skills. The medical reasons to monitor teens' cell phone use is shown by the 3 items that I have listed. Sleep deprivation is one of the most critical medical issues that is affecting the teens medically. According to a study by Preti Divi and Priya, the average adult requires 7 to 8 hours of sleep. On page 2, the authors tell us that based on the present study of 90 participants, most teens were only sleeping 4 to 6 hours a night. Twenge tells us that teens should get about 9 hours of sleep a night, and a teen who is getting less than 7 hours of sleep a night is significantly sleep deprived. Sleep deprivation weakens the power of the reasoning half of the brain. It's critical to the brain for learning. Once the brain is empty sleep, it is troublesome to concentrate, and it does not harness the hormones necessary to manage growth. The authors of this article also tell us that teens are using technology before bed or cell phones in bed, interfering with the ability to fall asleep. Weight gain is also an issue with teen smartphone use. Snack foods, sodas, and bad eating habits are often associated with teens in general. However, these food choices are amplified when a teen is sitting in their room, playing on their phones. Alison Kopf tells us that many children are now spending more time sitting, and the lack of activity is causing a lot of issues medically. The next issue would be the psychological reasons, and it is the most significant issue that is a result of teenage smartphone use. Lee Campbell of Fox News reported on a clinical science journal that 8th through 12th graders who had increased usage time on social media and smartphones had an increased risk of depression symptoms, suicide-related outcomes, and suicide. Twenge and Campbell in the Journal of Preventive Medicine report that the moderate use of between 4 to 6 hours of a smartphone a day in the 14 to 17-year-old age group have a greater risk for anxiety and depression. It also tells us that 7 or more hours a day versus 1 hour a day users are twice likely to be diagnosed with depression, see a mental health provider, or have taken medications. Twenge also tells us that 8th graders who are heavy social media users increase their risk of depression by 27%. Depression rates have increased 21% for boys and 50% for girls from 2012 to 2015. Depression rates have increased. In the Journal for Preventive Medicines, the psychologists tell us that screen time of more than 1 hour a day will result in a lowered psychological well-being of teens. Twenge and Campbell tell us that 14 to 17-year-old moderate users of 4 hours a day are more likely not to be curious about things, more likely not to stay calm when challenged. 66% are more likely not to finish tasks, and 57% are more likely to argue much more with their caregivers. Jean Twenge also tells us in our 2017 article that the rates of depression have skyrocketed since 2011, and it is not an exaggeration to describe iGen as being on the brink of the worst mental health crisis in decades, and much of this deterioration can be traced directly to their telephones. Twenge also reports that teens who spend more than 3 hours a day on smartphones are 35% more likely to have risk factors for suicide, such as making suicide pacts. Also, although the rate of suicide has increased for both sexes, 3 times as many 12 to 14-year-old girls have killed themselves in 2015 opposed to 2017, compared to twice as many boys. The Department of Health and Human Services reported that since 1999, the most marked increase in suicides have been among girls aged 12 to 17. Counterclaims on my kids are safe. The other side would say that teens today are safe at home. They're finishing school. They're not getting in trouble. They're not getting pregnant. Alcohol use is down. Smoking is down. And most of all, violence among teens themselves It's all down. Yes, these are all positive outcomes. However, there is a dark lining that comes with those parental securities that we are not seeing with our eyes that goes much deeper. Twenge tells us that teens today are not seeking independence from their parents, not socializing on a face-to-face level with their peers, adults, or even dating for that matter. These actions are causing the youth of today to exhibit non-socially acceptable behaviors and the lack of social skills needed to succeed in life. Yes, another positive is that violence is down, but suicide in the youth population has increased dramatically. Another counterclaim on smartphones would be that smartphones are not the issue. My response would be that smoking doesn't cause cancer either. There is no evidence showing that smartphones cause any of these conditions or issues. It is ultimately the actions of the end user that cause the underlying issues that appear to be affecting teenagers worldwide, not just here in the United States. All of the journals, newspaper articles, and web pages agree that the youth of today are experiencing problems in one form or another from smartphone use. Twenge tells us in her 2017 article that we are on the brink of a health crisis with our youth. Campbell tells us, while researcher Jean Twenge has been quick to acknowledge that correlation does not equal causation, she does think that these results in all of these findings should serve as warnings to parents. In conclusion, smartphones can be a good asset to have and an item that, if not used in moderation, can unleash sociological issues, medical problems, and psychological issues for today's youth. Social skills are necessary to become productive, happy adults. Teenagers today are withdrawing into their virtual world and have little interest in public socialization. Sleep deprivation and obesity are two more prevalent medical issues associated with the overuse of smartphones among teens. Anything over 2 hours has been determined to have sociological issues. The scariest of all the issues associated with smartphone use in teens would be the psychological issues. Did Rebecca Ann Sedgwick have to kill herself to wake the public up and make them realize that technology is making our children unwell? Moderation seems to be the key in thwarting the sociological, medical, and psychological issues that await our future generations. Parents, please monitor these cell phones. Thank you very much for your time.